Okay, so our group was discussing specific methods, and this is a little bit of an extension of our presentation that Tony and I did this morning, but it was discussing specific methods to improving diversity in your organization and your institution. And we started with actually discussing some of the challenges that we're currently facing, and one person from our group is having a hard time recruiting women for a postdoc position. And we talked about ways to vamp up that process. The position's been open for a while, and just the pool of applicants is really small, and then naturally the pool of diverse applicants is subsequently smaller. So we talked specifically about some of the tips that I gave during the presentation in partnering with organizations like Women HPC, partnering with other conferences. But then we also talked about a little later on is getting conferences like ISC, conferences like SC, to help us with that process by maybe having like a job board where students could post their CVs. Or, you know, at this education conference that I go to every year, there literally is like a big poster board like we have for the academic posters with plastic see-through pockets, and the students can shove their CVs in there so that employers can go by and pick them up. Also, posting jobs on maybe a board next to that. Other conferences also help students put together a package that makes them look, you know, professional, and it trains them on how to engage with potential organizations that would be hiring. So the other thing is perhaps doing some workshops to help students and underrepresented students and women to revamp their CVs. That's where the Rewrite CV comes from. To let them know, like, what are the things you should focus on, and then beyond that, how to interact with and network with companies at conferences. We were really lucky to have a student in our group to talk about their experience, and a lot of it centered around, hey, what do you think about this? What are your friends doing right now? We had multiple students in our group, and where are you guys looking for jobs? So doing that, you know, sitting down with the students or sitting down with the group that you're trying to reach and say, hey, what's your normal life like, and how can I plug into that? LinkedIn, so one of the students from our group mentioned that perhaps if you're not getting enough applicants, maybe look for folks on LinkedIn that are looking for jobs that meet the criteria. How exactly to do that, I don't know, but apparently you can do that. That sounds really innovative and a good idea. Work with groups. I forgot what we meant by work with groups.
Oh, that was just sitting down with the people you're trying to recruit that you just said.
Okay. Sorry. And then the booth at Grace Hopper. So this is just one example. I mentioned already, like partnering with organizations or partnering with other conferences, but also going up to folks at booths and saying, hey, you know, I'm looking for students. Maybe you go up to National Labs and say, do you guys have some stellar students that are graduating soon because I need postdocs, something like that, or university booths, things like that. Okay, schools. So getting teachers into the labs. We talked about we really need to work on professional development for teachers in order to encourage them and to have them better understand what HPC is so they can be better, more informed advocates with their students. That's kind of where the trained teachers in HPC comes from. And then we also talked about bringing whole families to events. So in the same vein of educating teachers, educating families. So particularly when we talk about members, again, of underrepresented groups, there's a lot of societal or cultural misconceptions that often hold folks back from engaging fully with HPC. So we use a couple examples, but one example at the University of Illinois is we train teachers, we give them research experience for teachers is what it's called. It's funded by the National Science Foundation. And they come in for an entire summer and they work in research labs and with professors and graduate students, and they also have program activities that they do. They do presentations, they sit in workshops like this in addition to kind of being like a grad student. And so they increase in their, you know, scientific knowledge, and they also learn how to incorporate that into their pedagogy. So, and then with the families piece, sitting down with parents, big brothers, big sisters, uncles, aunts, bringing them to a safe place where they can engage with the science, tinker around, learn that they too can learn, because sometimes, you know, they got held back, especially if, you know, again, they're all members of underrepresented groups. Then hopefully, and then also educating them on how encouraging your son, your daughter to participate in these activities can help the whole family instead of telling them, no, you need to come home and work and make more money, something like that, can help with the situation. So then students, we talked about how we really need to teach our students how to network. You know, it's not like an innate ability. So telling them, there was an example by one of the students in our group saying that they really wanted to go to a party by one of the vendors here, and they didn't know how to ask. And so they literally kind of like meandered like sheepishly around the booth for a while. Yeah, for a long time, and nobody really picked up on it. And then finally they said, well, maybe I'd like to go to your party. And then they're like, oh yeah, here's 6 tickets. So just kind of letting them know that you can do this and how to do that. And that kind of goes into the show floor, like how do you engage with people on the floor. And then need to attract women to meetups where they may be offered a job. So again, one of the students in our group mentioned that there's often these technical meetups, but women aren't coming, and maybe letting them know that a lot of times this is where some brokering happens, some networking happens that leads to jobs. And if that doesn't work, then ask them kind of what I mentioned earlier, well, where are you going? Where are you looking for jobs? So that's a little bit what we talked about. Let's hear about the mentoring group.
Yeah.
Do you have those slides yet?
No, Kim is going to